The title of Grandmaster was first officially awarded in 1950. Now, in 2017, at the St. Louis Winter Invitational, that tradition continues. Hello, chess fans. Welcome to the fifth day and the penultimate round of the Winter Invitational GM and IM Norm event. There are only a few players left who can earn a Norm, or if you're Joel Banawa, get that rating up over 2,400 to get the IM title. Remember to be with us on Tuesday, February the 21st, live at 11 a.m. Central at uschesschamps.com. All right, here we are back in the IM Norm field, and I'm sitting here with FIDE Master Gauri Shankar. Gauri, you played two good games. Your last two you won, and even though you're out of Norm contention, let's take a look at some of those games.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not having the greatest tournament, but I did play a couple of good games. I had a couple of near wins that I missed as well. So I guess I'll only show you my good games. So let's start with the first one. I played against International Master Neimer, who's a very strong player. Now there's a really interesting sequence that could happen, and it starts with knight g4. So I was hoping that he would play knight g4 here, attacking my queen. Now you can pause the video if you'd like, because it's pretty cool move that's going to come up. This is what I was intending. It didn't happen in the game though. It's queen takes e6, rook takes e6, rook takes g7. So sacrificing my queen for two bishops. And then king goes to f8 obviously, otherwise he'd be in a lot of trouble. If he goes king h8, rook d7, it's already game over. King f8. And now I was calculating this during the game really hard. Is it really worth it to go to this position? Do I have to sacrifice my queen? It's really risky. But I was thinking of rook h8, trying to win the queen. Surprisingly, it's really hard to defend for black. For example, one variation is knight f6, rook h8 check, knight g8, and bishop d5. Wow. Two bishops in the center is like a queen sometimes, right? So right now I have a lot of compensation, rook g6, and now the final blow is this rook coming to a1 and to a7, and then some things are gonna happen on, basically this is game over, actually. So this is really sad, but I'll give a sample line. Let's say queen e8 or something, or just some move, bishop b takes e4, rook a7, and already it's over. For example, my threat is pretty interesting here. My threat is to go bishop g8, rook g8, and now this is actually mate. Really cool mate by white. So, well, this didn't happen. So anyway, so in the game, he took the pawn. I played rook a1. Another interesting moment happened at this point. So here, I felt like his pieces were loose. I'm putting a lot of pressure on his bishop, his knight, his other bishop. So I thought, is there a way I could take advantage of this excellent bishop on d4? So again, you can pause the video and see what move I played here. So I decided to sack my rook for the bishop. And now I have complete domination over the dark squares, right? And he's actually unable to defend both the knight and the rook because he doesn't have any pieces left to defend it. So he has to give up one of these guys. He decided to give up the rook, and I took knight, and then I sacked my other bishop, and I got back more than I gave up, and I was able to win the game from here. So that was my first game, yeah.
I dig how you channel Jonathan Schrantz there and give the people a chance to treat it as a puzzle. It's very cool.
Well, I have a coach, so sometimes I do this. Okay, can we go to the next game?
Yes, absolutely. Take us to the next game.
Okay, so the next game, I hope I loaded it. Let's see. Yep, it was against, it was played today actually, against FIDE Master Grabinsky. The move that he should have played was bishop f6. However, now I calculated that I'm not entirely sure it's completely winning, but I have a really strong attack after, let's say, bishop e4, h6, and now queen f5. It's a super strong attack. Maybe here, computer likes to sacrifice the rook for more material and get like a bunch of pawns. This is a crazy variation that is, it's ridiculously crazy. How I'm going to sweep up all the pawns on the king side, but there's a better move here that I thought actually. It was h6, I believe it was. Sorry, it was after bishop f6, queen f5, or bishop, queen f5, and then g4, I think, was strong. This is also strong, I believe. So one of these moves should be good for white, or bishop b4 and g4. Anyway, the move he played was g6. I took the pawn, and now I was expecting him to play bishop f8, clearing the way for the queen, and I had a really nice response for this. It was bishop d5, threatening mate on g8. The only way to defend was queen g7, and now I have a really important forcing move here. It was queen e6, attacking the rook on c8, because now if the rook moves, I have another forcing move, threatening mate on g8, and he would have to lose his queen. And then my queen and bishop are so powerful, I'm going to get more material after that. So queen, again, they're attacking that undefended rook. So basic tactics coming together, right? And but he played bishop to d8, which was a weird move because it kind of disconnects the rook from e8. And now I have several ways to win here. I just chose the most simple way. I just threatened mate on g8. And if he can't stop it unless he has to give up a bishop, which means I'll be up 3 pawns. So he resigned here because queen g7, queen e8, and then that's it. So the most important point of this game was knight e6. It was a sacrifice that I made without even fully figuring out what's gonna happen, but it was a very educated guess, and I knew that at least I had enough compensation. But it was a brave decision. But I think I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do the sacrifice. It's one of those moments where you had to do it because it looks so good. So you don't get moments like that in a real, in your career so often. So you had to take that chance to sacrifice. So.
Well, Gauri, nicely done. Definitely. His flag is India, but he is a Midwestern boy here. Chicago instructor. Are your students watching this?
Probably, I hope so. I'm going to tell them to watch.
Very cool. Well, you are also kind of in the same boat as Joel Banawa, who has the required amount, 3 IM norms, but it's all about the rating. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I have 4 norms so far. I've got them through the years. I think my latest one was last year. However, my performance sometimes is up and down. Happens to those who don't practice regularly or coach for a living like Joel does. It is hard because when you lose a game against anyone, you lose as much as you gain or worse. Sometimes a lot of players nowadays are underrated or they don't play as many FIDE tournaments because in the United States, not all the tournaments are FIDE rated. So sometimes the tournament that I do well in is not rated at all, and the tournament that I do badly in is FIDE rated. So there are some complications, but in the end, I can only blame myself. Not enough practice, not enough putting hours in. So if I put those hours in, I should be able to get there.
Excellent, and I hope it works out for you. Thank you for joining
us.
us. And now let's take a look at some more standings after a full 8 rounds have been completed. In the GM section, only 1 player left can earn a norm. And oddly enough, 4.5 points in this section will get Abrahamian an IM norm. We're here after round 8 of the 2017 Winter Invitational, and in the IM section, we have FIDE Master Doug Eckert. Doug, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about your game, your big win with Josh Colas.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate Joel Banawa, who scored an IM norm and he crossed the 2400 rating with his win in this round. So he is going to officially become an international master, which is the point of this tournament. And last night I helped him out in that endeavor. I turned down a draw offer and I lost a game that was very heartbreaking to him last night, and I'm feeling a lot better today after last night.
It's definitely big news for Joel.
Yes. So today I played Josh, and we transposed from a ready opening into a Catalan opening. And if b4, I've got knight to d3, and the computer thinks that white's better there also. But again, if you look at this position right here, again, very hard for white to play this because all of a sudden knight f4 is a possible threat. And you'll notice that if rook takes d3, e takes d3, my bishop on h4 guards my queen, so queen takes e7 is not going to win here. So again, practically black has some chances here. What he played, though, turned out to be a losing move. He played f3, and his idea is to undermine the pawn. The problem with this is that it allows me to create just a monster pass pawn on e3. And even though white is up in exchange here, all of a sudden the threats are starting to grow. I've got bishop f2 check. I have some lines where I play knight e6, knight f4. And I've also, with this knight on this square and the bishop guarding the queening square, I'm threatening to interpose a piece on d3 here, which is going to win the game. And he didn't see that threat, but already the computer thinks that the position is too late, and it gives the move that he played king h1 actually as the best move here, but it allows a winning combination for black. So first of all, I play bishop to d3, and he has to take the bishop, or otherwise I'm just going to play queen takes knight, and I've won a piece. So he plays rook takes, knight takes, and now if he plays queen takes d3, I just play e2, and then I'm going to queen the pawn, or he'll have to sacrifice his rook for it, and then I'll actually be the exchange up, and he still has his loose king position issues to deal with here. So he plays knight c4, attacking the pawn, and I sensed that I was winning here. The material's equal, but his king is weak, and I was trying to find a winning plan. And White's idea here is he's going to play f4 and play knight e5, and I've got to find a way to rearrange my pieces. I'm not going to checkmate him here. And so I was happy with the plan I found. So first of all, I check him, and his king goes to g1, and now I just guard the pawn. So he can't play knight takes e3 because a queen takes e3, and rook takes knight, and he loses an exchange there. So the pawn's guard, he plays f4 with the idea of playing knight e5, knight g6 check. So to guard that, I play bishop f6, and it's also important that by putting the bishop on the d4 square, which is what it took me a little while to find before I played knight f2 check, is that this is sort of a classic case where with opposite colored bishops, black's going to have the advantage because I totally dominate the black square, so I'm going to put my bishop on d4, and as you'll see here in a moment, I'm going to open up his position by playing g5. So he plays a4. He doesn't really have a lot of moves here. I put my bishop on d4, and now my plan is to either maneuver my knight to e4 in some lines, or my queen to h4 and queen g3. A lot of different possibilities here. So he puts his king on h2, and now I play g5. And at first you'd say, well, that opens up my king position, but it doesn't really, because I've got complete control of the black squares. And if he plays a move like f5, for example, now I can just play queen check. His king has to come back to g1. I can play queen to g3, and you can see it's completely over. I'm going to play knight takes h3 check. His king goes back, knight check, knight takes g4, and it's mate. So he cannot move the pawn, so he puts his queen up on f3 to guard the pawn. But now what I do is he's pinned, so I play queen c7, so the f pawn is pinned now. And he doesn't really have a good plan to stop queen takes f4, so he made me give up my black squared bishop here. But it's really a pretty easy win at this point. So he has to come back here, and now I played knight to d3. So I'm hitting the queen square at the knight and just threatening e2. And I was happy with this because it was a clean win on my part, unlike last night where I blundered. So he brings his queen here, f2, rook here, queen check, king h2, knight d3. And he resigned here. And I'm going to win the rook, but just to show that it is a win. So example, he plays queen to c3. I can simply interpose the rook on this square, and he has no checks, and I'm simply going to win the rook on e1 for a pawn. Alternatively, in this position, if he brings his queen down to f7, with the idea being that if I take his rook that he might be able to get a perpetual check, I very simply just play queen to f4 check here, and he has to trade queens, and then I'm going to win his rook, and I win the game. So I was happy with that. It was double-edged. I was maybe losing at one point, but practically it was very difficult for him.
Well, congratulations on that, Doug. A fine win indeed. Now, you're a local man. You're also on the board of directors here at the Chess Club, which finds you as a regular in these types of events. Still no IM norms, though, yet, as you're at the FIDE master position. What is your forecast on getting one of those norms one of these days?
Well, in this tournament I've had a number of very good positions, and I haven't finished them. And this has been my struggle the last couple of years, that I generate promising positions, and most of these players are rated 200 points higher than me, and I haven't finished. And I don't know if it's a case of nerves losing concentration at a critical position, and I have to get over that, and if I do, then I would probably eventually get a norm. If I don't, then I guess I'm just the player that I've always been, which is I'm okay but not good enough. And
well, you're not a professional chess player. I mean, you have a real life job, so to speak.
I do, but I enjoy this, and this is my passion and my hobby, and I like the ability to compete against these guys. There's a lot of great young up-and-coming players, and I mean, if you look at this tournament, even Josh, who I beat, who's not having a good tournament, I think he scored a Grandmaster norm in the last year, which is a level above the International Master level. So all of these players are capable of beating anyone else in the tournament, even me. And I just enjoy that. I like competing, and it's a lot of fun. It's frustrating sometimes, but I enjoy it.
Now, people who have been following this tournament know that today and tomorrow, the penultimate and the final rounds, there's only one round each day, which is a little bit different from what's been the past few. Except for you, Doug, because your first round game will be played later tonight. Explain that.
Well, I was out of town on a business trip, and I was actually also going to play in the Southwest Open in Dallas, and unfortunately one of the participants dropped out of the GM norm. And in these types of tournaments, you need to have players of a certain rating in order to meet the either Grandmaster or IM qualifications, and they weren't able to find another player, so I agreed to play on one day's notice, but I was out of town and I couldn't make the first round because I had to return from my business trip.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're talking about Nazi Pakidze, who was sick prior to the start of this round, so she did not play this event. So, Doug, I hope you're not tired, and good luck in the game later tonight.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you for being here. And now we're going to fast forward through time after 8 rounds plus the games later tonight and show you the full standings in the IM section after round 8. By now, in the IM section, only 2 players can earn a norm. An astounding 6.5 points in this section will net Banawa and Williams, an IM norm. The final round goes down on Tuesday, February 21st, here from St. Louis, and you can see the games live on USChessChamps.com.